Popcorn world. Popcorn world. Yeah.
Can I make you groove now? Yes, I can. So you can get this groove in a bag of can. I can make it round the world when it holds in your hand. Popcorn world. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. I said popcorn make you smile. Ah. 250 flavors. Popcorn world. Popcorn world. Popcorn world. Popcorn world. The popcorn world.
You're now listening to BLEAV in the ACC with Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward, Wave 3 TV, and Burn Creek Hall of Famer, Kendrick Haskins, and Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course, Mama Noise's man, Lloyd Smith. And now, it's time for BLEAV in the ACC.
We are looking in the face of one of the best tournaments we've seen in a long time, and staring on the eve of possibly the greatest women's weekend we've ever seen. It could be that when we come back next Thursday. We don't know yet, but it has surely set itself up for such a thing.
The potential is there.
The potential is there. But before we get to any of that, and we first have to say hello to each and every one of you. That's Kendrick Haskins. That's Charlie Ward, looking very contemplative today.
Deep in thought.
Deep in thought. Not sure what has consumed his mind. I don't know what it is, but
I got a feeling the shot clock is always on his mind.
Well, the shot clock is always. That's like, I think it's like God, family, and then the shot clock. I think it's like that's the order that I think Charlie wakes up.
We're a distant fourth.
Right. But we're in there though. We're the top 5, so I'm not even complaining. Not even complaining at all.
It's all there.
It's all there. So we got that to talk about. But before we get to any of that, as we were headed to bed last night, we found out Louisville looks like Louisville's got a coach. They've got a coach. They found a coach, Pat Kelsey.
Yeah,
college in Charleston. He's going to be the coach. Kendrick, tell us about it.
Well, I mean, it's not official yet, and he does have a history.
Unofficially, okay.
Yeah, well, he has a history at UMass where he pulled his name out of the running 30 minutes before the introductory press conference. And he did.
Oh, so this really isn't official.
I think that might be why it's not a public press conference. It's just media invited to the press conference. But anyway, that aside.
Wait a minute. Let's go. Wait a minute. You almost buried the lead there. So there is a pattern of behavior where he's so emotionally tied to his past teams that he doesn't actually lead.
It happened before, but
oh wow!
Reading all the tea leaves, it seems like he's already been active in recruiting.
Okay.
Since yesterday, so it does sound like it's going to happen. We'll see. We'll know for sure at 3:00 Eastern time this afternoon.
Yeah, it's a big gap between now and 3:00.
Yes, it is. And
okay.
And given the ups and downs of this roller coaster that has been the U of L coaching search, I don't take anything for granted.
All right. Well, just to give you guys a little bit of background, played 1 year at Wyoming, played 3 years at Xavier, then coached 3 years at Elder High School, then Wake Forest, then Xavier as an associate. All these were assistant and associate head coach. Then took on the head coaching job at Winthrop, where he stayed there from 2012 to 2021. Then went to Charleston for 3 years, coached there, and then they are listing him already on Wikipedia as the head coach of the University of Louisville.
Yeah, that changed relatively early yesterday.
I was like, wow, he didn't even sign the thing yet. He already got him down.
Yeah, it's according to the reports, it's a 5-year they've agreed to a 5-year
deal. That's what I heard as well. Okay.
Also, a little nugget. He's an assistant coach under Chris Mack at Xavier.
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. So I know we're kind of excited in a sense that there's someone who's being named. If I'm anybody on the outside, I'm still skeptical. Just like they're skeptical about him signing or pulling out, which I don't think is going to happen because you're talking about UMass versus Louisville. Right. It's a little bit different dynamic when it comes to schools.
Right.
But I mean, we're in the same boat again. We don't know. Like we're excited that we have somebody, but we don't know, how this is going to transition. And then I'm just curious to see how long they're going to give it. Like if he doesn't get it turned around, and
the contract said 5 years. I don't know what that means, but
that means nothing in this day and age.
Right.
It means absolutely nothing. But what I do believe is they will give him time because they just got rid of a guy, and that they didn't necessarily think was going to get the job done. And if he comes in and does well, or start to feel like he's doing well, moving the team in a different direction and what have you, then they'll probably give him time. Very similar to, I mean, you've seen it happen before. I'm not saying that this is the outcome that Coach would get, Coach Kelsey would get, but, Coach Norville, he came in and changed the dynamic of the program, but they saw something within those losing seasons. Because I know on this show, during that time, we were going through those struggles. Like they were losing to Jacksonville State and losing to certain teams that we were like, this doesn't happen. And then we were wondering, are they going to give him time? And so hopefully they see something, in the first year or two while he's going through the transition, that they'll say, hey, we're going to give you time to, build it. But I'm skeptical of administration on if they're going to pull the plug on this guy in 3 years, if he doesn't get it turned around.
Well, I'll just say, go ahead, Kendrick.
Well, in 3 years, if it's not turned around, if it's the same thing, I mean, that's any administration after 3 years at this point. But I do feel like because the fan base is split on the hire, if we're being honest, because frankly, people don't know who he is at the end of the day, and if people just want a name,
right?
And to me, it's kind of silly. And people are like they need to fire the athletic director and all this and that and the other just because they haven't heard of the coach. And I'm like, well, you don't watch college basketball 24 hours a day.
Right.
If you look at this guy's resume, he still doesn't have an NCAA tournament win, but he's doing it at Winthrop in College of Charleston.
Right. I'm sure it's not the easiest to get the best.
And he took San Diego State down to the wire last year, who, by the way, went to the Final Four last year. So I'm gonna be honest with you, I really didn't know much about him until I had to do my research yesterday. And I like the guy from what I've seen. I mean, he's fiery. He's gonna be the type of coach that if he's coaching your team, you love him. If you're the other team, you're probably gonna hate him because he is a fireball. He is electric. And really and truly, that's kind of what this fan base needs because the last two hires between KP and Chris Mack both, they're kind of laid back kind of guys. Chris Mack can be a little fiery, but this guy is
He's a
times.
10.
Yeah,
He's a 10 at all
and
times.
this, I feel like this program and this fan base needs that. They need somebody who's going to give them the energy. Plus, when you look at Josh Hurd, the athletic director's press conference after he let go of Kenny Payne, he said he wanted a coach that would crawl here. Obviously, I mean, this is going to be his biggest opportunity. It's going to be Kelsey's biggest opportunity he's had so far.
Sure.
And he wanted somebody who would be here for 20 years. Well, Kelsey, same age as me. He's 48 years old. So 20 years, that's easily possible with somebody his age. And he's somebody that you can build around. And he's going to say with his energy that he seems to have, I think he's gonna win the fans over. He may not win them over initially just because this fan base has been through so much. But I do think he can come here and he can win, and he can spark some interest in that rivalry with Kentucky, because I can only imagine if he beats Kentucky whenever that does happen, he's going to go crazy. I think I like the hire for what the fan base needs.
Well, I'll say this. I
Hold
got
on.
a chance to do a little. Go ahead, Charlie. Go ahead, Charlie.
You said the man said he wants somebody that's going to be there for 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, who's been somewhere for 20 years here lately?
Well, I mean,
who's the last hire that we've seen in the past? I understand it's a press conference. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But don't come selling me.
Don't oversell
somebody's
it.
going to be here for 20 years. Just say I want somebody that's going to be here that want to be here. You know, for 20 years, who's been at a job here recently that someone has hired that stayed for 20 years?
Yeah, these days and times. I mean, that's the.
Yeah, 5 years.
Cal Perry's almost there 20 years now.
That's the equivalent, Charlie. That's the equivalent of saying these are the greatest tires of all time. No, they're not. They're just tires. They're just tires. Let's not talk about how great the tires are. We just want the tires to work. But I'm gonna say this. I did a little background as well, preparing for the show, and I actually went back and watched the Charleston game with San Diego State from last year, and it was an interesting game. And he had them playing an interesting style, and despite not really having like great athletes, they were a very attack type team, and they come at you like the entire game, which is probably why San Diego State was so thrown off, because that's not normally how teams play, where they're attacking from pretty much every position. Mm-hmm. So he's not just looking for bigs, but he's looking for bigs that can put the ball on the floor. He's looking for guards that can attack from every angle. He's looking for forwards that can attack, and crash the board. So if that's the style of play that he's bringing, that is very different than what Louisville fans have seen the last 4 or 5 years.
Really, since Rick.
Yeah, since Rick left. So that style of play, if he can get athletes like that in the building, it will lend for probably a quick turnaround to his favor, because it'll look like competition. It'll look like, intensity and the things that Louisville fans are used to seeing. So I don't think it's going to take him that long to win everybody over.
He's going to have to hit the ground running, because they literally have 10 players that have hit the transfer portal.
He's got a ton of work.
Two to hit it yesterday with Brandon Huntley Hatfield and Trey White.
Yeah.
I do, because like Sky Clark, for example, he left the door open to a return. I kind of have a feeling
he may stay. I think Huntley Hatfield could probably be talked into staying. And then the local kids, JJ Traynor and Caleb Glenn, I think they could be talked into returning. But I mean, he's had a couple players from College of Charleston that's already hit the transfer portal as well. And so meaning that they're probably coming through. Yeah.
Probably. And so if I think if he can get that core, because like Tyler still hasn't entered the transfer portal. Tyler.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Okay.
And so if he can get that core to return, because we talked about that on here, like if that roster returns, they're going to be one of the more experienced teams in the conference. So if he can get Sky, Caleb, JJ, and Huntley Hatfield to return, and then add some pieces, maybe Trey White.
That's a good starting place. Yeah,
he's got a good starting place to build. and maybe win some games early. We were talking about it yesterday. Is like, what should the goal be for the expectations be for the fan base? And I'm like, at this point, they should just be happy to get to the NIT.
Can I be honest about that? Because you mentioned the fan base a minute ago, and let me look directly in the camera, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I do not care. I really don't, because this is one of those times where you have to look at your program realistically and say, look where we've been, look what we've been through.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the number one thing has to be stability. You know what I'm thankful for? I'm thankful for the example that Florida State football has set for the rest of the nation. Because the first thing that Coach Norvell did was stabilize that program and the chaos that was surrounding it. And you can decide where the chaos come from for yourself. That's not up for us to tell you where it came from or how it developed. But the bottom line, it was turmoil. But Coach Norvell said, this is who we're going to be. This is how I want to run this program. This is who Florida State is going to be going forward. And that's what he stuck with. And look where they are.
Right.
Look where they are. So to me, that's what you have to do. Reestablish a culture of what you want to be and what you are going forward. And then stick with that culture. That's why I like the 5 years. Now, to Charlie's point, give them the 5 years.
Right.
Give them the entire 5 years to put it in place. It's going to take some time. Now, why you didn't give it to Kenny, I understand, because in the midst of the 5 years, there has to be a demonstration of forward progress. So going back to Coach Kelsey, you look at his time at Winthrop, 14 and 17 when he started. Then he went to 20 and 13, 19 and 13, 23 and 9. You go to College of Charleston, 17 and 15 when he started. The next year, 31 and 4.
Yeah, the second
31
year.
and 4. Then back that up with a 27 and 8. So
he had a 20-game win streak in that second year.
So there has to be, I'm not saying you got to make those type of jumps, but it'd be nice if you could make those type of jumps. I don't know how realistic that is in a better conference, in a Power 5 conference.
In the ACC, yeah.
But at the same time, you got to show some measure of we're moving in the right direction.
I think the three of us all saying is would all agree that the main thing they need, and which U of L has demonstrated in the past, is, like you said, Lloyd, it's stability.
Yeah,
that's the key word, because like you can keep if you have a revolving door with anything, you're never going to have any stability. You're never going to have. You can't build if you constantly have a revolving door.
Right.
You look at any program, high school, college, NFL. The teams that are constantly firing coaches, constantly having turnover, are the teams that always have the first pick in the draft. We've been talking about the Bears over the text messages. Jacksonville for years. It seems like they have a little bit of stability now, and the Detroit Lions for years. And you look at the NBA, and the teams that are always struggling, the teams that they never stick with anybody. And in even looking at Louisville now, I mean, for all three of us, when we were growing up, for the first 40 years of our lives, there were two basketball coaches at U of L. Benny Crum and Rick Pitino.
Yeah.
And then,
I want to
the last 5 years, it's been a revolving door.
I want to go back to Charlie's point as well. If you have a revolving door, well, guess what? That's why you don't get a Dusty May. That's why you don't get a Scott Drew. That's why you don't get guys like that. Because like Charlie just said, how am I supposed to trust you? If I don't produce results in the next hour and a half, how am I supposed to trust you? So I agree with you, Charlie, about that part for sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's anything with a revolving door is there's no stability. Business. I mean, you name it. So having some stability, and sometimes you have to go through challenges to be able to get there. And I just think that's something, everyone has to do. That's why I always say, man, if you don't understand, we make mistakes, whether it's choosing, coaches, whether it's decisions that we make, and we have to, move on from certain things. But at some point, we got to make a good decision if we want the outcome to be what it is that we're desiring. And so
And sometimes that comes with the measure of
It's
patience.
just
Yeah.
just hopeful that they can. Hopefully, Coach Kelsey can help rewrite the ship.
Well, with the excitement of this new coach, it appears, and the excitement of the tournament, let's be clear. It appears that the demise of the ACC has been greatly exaggerated because a lot of people, going in the last couple of years were saying, oh, the ACC is down. It's just not as good as it used to be. And these teams just aren't great and da-da-da-da. Clearly, that's not true. Clearly, that's not true.
It's 2 years running on that.
2 years running on that. And let's go by the numbers, shall we? The much vaunted SEC this year sent 8 teams to the tournament. They currently now have 2 teams left in the Sweet 16. 2. And you could argue that one of those teams has maybe a legitimate chance to win it. I'm not sure if the other one does. Like if you would think, like Tennessee.
You mean you don't have faith in Tennessee? Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't have faith in Tennessee, but a lot of people do. A lot of people have tremendous Tennessee faith. It could be the Tennessee whiskey,
but they were consistent. Tennessee's been consistent all year, though.
They have,
but they're also Tennessee.
Yeah, that. I'm just saying they've been consistent all year, which is the reason why, they have a chance.
They have a chance
to be good at this time. I mean, at this point, there are going to be good games, good quality games, and so anyone can lose.
That's very true,
as we've seen.
Well, that's also true in the sense of the Big 12, who also sent 8 teams and now has 2 teams left. They will present to us this weekend Houston and Iowa State. Now, Houston has a very strong chance to win this.
Right. Yeah. And the way Iowa State's finished the season, they have a very strong chance.
Iowa State may shock you as well. Right.
Yeah.
Iowa State can shock you as well. They're playing some good basketball. Arguably the strongest conference, ironically, is the Big East, who sent 3 teams, and 3 teams are still in it.
Very top heavy, but very good conference. And St. John's probably should have gotten in. I think they probably would have seen some success if they had gotten into the tournament.
Well, listen, I have to agree with you on that. I think you're 100% correct about that. But then there's another little conference called the ACC who sent 5 teams, and 4 of the 5 teams are still in with a chance to win the thing. I would say,
and shout out to our guy Kevin Keats.
Listen,
hey man, the job he's doing with the big fella.
It makes you wonder, how did you lose all these games?
Man of 9 lives.
Right, Kevin Keats is a man of 9 lives because you talk about somebody that was about out of there.
Oh man,
he's gone from fire to hitting $1 million in incentive bonuses.
They send him U-Haul emails,
right? But this is my issue. Is that the same guy? I mean, we're talking about we just went from he's about to get fired if they don't make the run in the ACC tournament. And now he's helping himself and potentially could get an extension of some sort from this run. That to me is just crazy. Like, you should be able to see what's going on. Like, we talked about injuries. I mean, there are a lot of factors in a season, and sometimes the outcome is not what may have transpired, during the course of the year. And so now he's found a good brand of basketball. The Burns kid, is a nightmare that people have to guard against, and it opens up the floor for everyone else. And so I'm just happy for the guy, but I'm still just trying to, there has to be something that showed the people in the building that was talking about it, or at least thinking about it, why didn't they see this? Like, he's still the same guy, like coaching the team. And he goes from thinking about being fired to, now working to try to get an extension because he's having a great run in the NCAA tournament.
I want to stay there for a second, Charlie, because the Burns kid is something. Like, I'll be honest with you, I had you seen the kid, but I didn't know he was this skilled. And now I'm watching a kid, to me, who, if he could just get control of his weight, man, I think I would take him in the second round, stuff him in the G League for about a year or two, let him lose that weight, and then bring him up and see what happens. Because the kid's footwork is immaculate, and his hands are fantastic.
He's so quick. Who says he needs to lose the weight? Oliver Miller was a success in the NBA for when he was in there, and he's not as big as Oliver Miller.
He's not as big as Oliver Miller. That is correct. I think if he could get down like Zach Randolph did, though, to that playing size, he would be. I mean, he'd be hard to deal with, because he is very, very. He's a Zach Randolph clone.
Yeah, he looks just like him.
Looks like him. He's just, like I said, his footwork is sharp. That drop step spin, especially to his right, is fantastic. Super quick for his size. So it'll be even quicker with a little less weight. I love the kid. I just think, to your point, Charlie, I'm wondering, did this kid break out like halfway through the season or at the end of the season? Did he just discover himself, or where did this come from? Because I don't remember.
He's been like this the whole year. I mean, I remember. Yeah, I remember talking to FSU coaches, and when they were getting ready to play him, I think when they went to NC State, he was one of the focal points, of their offense. It's like, we got to, stop, or at least try to slow this Burns kid down, because he's a matchup nightmare.
Oh man,
with the size, and so he's been there all year. He's just not in the very best shape, so he's playing, less minutes, but when he's playing, he's very effective, and so I don't know. I know he just got to NC State this year, I do believe, from Winthrop. I believe he was
there last year. I think DJ was there last year. I believe he was.
Oh, he's. My concern is, if he was at NC State last year, we can all change, but there's something about it, like, why don't you get in shape? Why haven't you gotten in shape?
Yeah.
And it could be a thing. He's a young kid. It just clicked for him. Yeah. He's growing up. He's maturing, and it may have just clicked for him, and it's just all coming together right here at the end of the season.
Maybe he never saw him. Maybe he didn't know how good he was. That's a possibility, because a lot of kids don't understand just because he's at Winthrop, so he doesn't know. The competition, with all due respect, is not the same. And so he gets to the ACC and realizes, if I can do this in the ACC, maybe I'm better than I thought I was.
Yeah, and he's had his struggles, because I'm pretty sure he was there last year, and then he was kind of up and down. He was kind of up and down during the season, and it just feels like, from the outside looking in, it's just a kid that it finally clicked.
Right, it just looks like it's clicked.
It's clicked for him mentally, because obviously the physical skills were there. Those skills don't just all of a sudden pop up. They were there. I think it's clicked on him mentally. I think he's gotten all the confidence in the world. You can see it on his face, and the big smile he has on his face.
Yeah,
that you can tell is he's probably overcome something mentally that we don't know about.
Yeah,
it could be something dramatic, or it could just be, I've got confidence in myself now. It's something that's clicked for this kid, and it's good to see.
It is. So like I
Well,
said,
this is.
Mhm.
I think teams are gonna start to figure it out. I mean, it's like the playoffs in a lot of ways. Especially here in the second weekend, teams are gonna start to figure out that they need to put him in more pick and rolls, or use his man as a screener to get shooters open because he's not helping very much. And I was watching the game with someone. I forgot who was watching the game with, and they were like, I think it was another coach. But
I think you
they were
know who
like,
it is, Charlie. I can see the look on your face.
This feels like a humble flex avoidance. I'm gonna stall him out. Kid.
I just said,
I'm gonna stall him out.
I was watching. I forgot who it was, but we were talking about.
Are the initials MW?
I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, all right.
But we were talking about. You said put him in more pick and rolls.
Yeah.
I
fully expect this Marquette game to be his hardest game because I think that's probably what's going to happen. They're gonna push him on the defensive side and kind of try to wear him out a little bit because that's the only strategy. I mean, I don't know what else you could do because on the offensive side, you got no shot to stop him. I mean, he's just him and Edey right now. As far as post players are playing the best basketball in the tournament, in my opinion. They're just both just virtually unstoppable. Which, by the way, shout out to Edey for Purdue because I didn't think he was that skilled, and apparently he is that skilled. He's a lot better.
He's not just a big lunk in the middle like we used to seeing Purdue have. He's skilled.
He doesn't have quick footwork, but he's got footwork. He's so wide you can't get around him.
He's got quick footwork for his size.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's not like what comparatively, but
yeah. I saw that man when I was in Indianapolis last week. That is a giant human being. My man was sitting in a chair and was almost as tall as me.
By the way, just for reference, Wembanyama is 2 inches taller than that. Just FYI for you. He's 2 inches taller than that.
Right.
So it's been a really amazing men's tournament so far. But of course, we all knew it would be. Who's going to win it? No idea. It appears UConn's going to be there. It feels like Houston's going to be there, but we'll see. And then after that, it's a coin toss.
Those other two regions are hard to pick.
Man, it's a coin toss. But equally as competitive on the women's side. And by the way, shout out to the women because even though there were really no upsets except the one that which it was kind of shocking. It wasn't shocking because we knew they could get beat, but it was still shocking because you're like, really, Louisville? Like they just kind of gave that game away.
Yeah.
And that's not usually what a Jeff Walz team does. They don't usually just take a game, but they tank that one for sure.
Yeah, we've been saying all year it's not a typical Jeff Walz team. They had talent. It's just the talent just didn't really mesh on the floor.
It didn't come together like you thought it would. I don't know what happened, but anyway, the rest of the bracket did exactly what it was advertised to do, and man, we have set ourselves up for a weekend for the ages. I want to give a real shout out to Carol Lawson, though, because I'm going to tell you something. I didn't think they had a snowball's chance in hell to beat Ohio State. I'm just going to be honest with you. I just felt like, and this is no disrespect to her, but it probably is. I just felt like when I watch her coach sometimes, that feels like there's a disconnect between what she's saying and what they're doing. And it doesn't seem like it was coming together. But in that, I watched that entire game, and I don't know what happened, but there are turning points for teams every year where it just seems like everything falls into place. That game, it felt like everybody was like, Oh, that's what you've been trying to tell us. Okay, so do this and do this and do this. They did everything she asked them to do, and they played their tails off to beat Ohio State. Now, can they duplicate that again against UConn?
Possible.
I don't know.
But Page is returned to Page for UConn.
Paige, you know what? Paige reminded us that before there was a Caitlin Clark, there was a Paige Becker who was looked at as the best player in women's college basketball. She looks fantastic right now.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Charlie?
Carol Lawson, right?
Yeah.
To me, she's a great coach, just in general.
I agree.
Just the way she motivates, encourages her players, the lessons that she teaches them, and I thought they were always decent, pretty good this year. I know a couple of times I saw them against Florida State, and then you start to see them gel, throughout the year. So I'm happy to see that they're having success, and I do believe that they have a chance of beating UConn.
I think they have a legit shot.
I think they absolutely do, but I'm telling you, I watched that team this year.
They can be inconsistent.
Windows. Go ahead.
They can be inconsistent.
They could be inconsistent, and it was a weird kind of inconsistency because talent-wise, you could see that the talent was there. And you're going, man, why is this team playing better? Like it seems like Reagan Richardson, the way she played in that Ohio State game, that was the way I figured she'd play all year long and week in and week out. And I don't think that's what they got from her week in, week out. So, but if she shows up like she did against Ohio State, she's gonna give Paige a long day. Like it's gonna be a battle. So they got the talent. It's just I don't know. Sometimes I think I don't know what it is, but whatever the message was on Ohio State, just take that speech, bring that speech to the Connecticut game. You might have a fighting chance. But looking forward to the game. I mean, it should be a phenomenal game. NC State and Stanford. First of all, let's be clear. Stanford escaped Iowa State.
Yeah.
Because that young lady, Audrey Cooks, I think is her name.
Mm-hmm.
She is the female version of Burns.
She's big and she quick.
Big, quick, and if she can commit to the discipline of just getting in just a little better shape, man, she's gonna be something to deal with because her footwork is fantastic. She can't jump. That's the only thing that's the only thing about it. She's not a great jumper, but that might be a weight issue as opposed to an athletic issue. I don't know, but boy, can she put the ball in the hole. And even Cameron Brinks after the game was like, "Girl, you got it."
Yeah, in so many words. She said it in so many words.
That's a loose translation, Charlie. I'm trying to protect your virgin ears, Charlie. I don't want to change it. but it was. She gave her the business. Yeah, I got you, man. I got you. But she gave her the business. So I'm very curious. I'm very curious to see how they respond to how Stanford responds to NC State. Because NC State is
they're good.
They are very good.
Well.
Mm-hmm.
Sanaya Rivers, she comes from a national championship program, South Carolina. So
yeah,
I mean, she was there for a reason.
Yeah,
Coach Staley don't bring in just anybody,
right?
And so she was there for a reason, and she's showing it now.
They look fantastic right now. They look like a team that could shock some people. By the way, can we address the elephant in the room? Wow, were you as shocked as I was to see coach at Virginia Tech leave to go to Kentucky?
Oh,
I wasn't
Yeah.
shocked. I mean,
I was shocked.
they opened up. I mean, they opened up the checkbook. Kentucky's serious about fixing their women's college basketball program, and he's
Well, I'm not
the guy
shocked
to
on the
do it.
Kentucky side.
You psyched that he left.
That doesn't feel like you got that Virginia Tech thing going, brother. Like, what are you?
Apparently, they were not too happy either because Virginia Tech released that he got the job at Kentucky before Kentucky did. But
do you think that was? And I know we're all speculating with this. Do you think that was maybe feeling a little underappreciated at Virginia Tech? Because he's had some success there the last 4 years, 5 years, or whatever.
No, it's called Kitley and Amar leaving.
Right.
Simple as that. Simple as that.
Yeah. And I mean, and Kentucky's got pieces. They do have pieces there.
Is that a better recruiting base than
I'm sure.
I'm sure in the SEC. Yeah.
I mean, when you start thinking about the SEC, and I'm gonna just say the ACC, but even the Big 12, where Kim Mulkey came from,
yeah,
they spent a lot of money on their coach to come and resurrect the program in some form or fashion. So he's a very good coach. To get what he got out of the group that he had, they feel like if they give him more resources, then he could potentially, give them opportunity, just like he did Virginia Tech. But the thing is he got to compete against South Carolina every year. He got to compete against LSU.
I was
in
thinking
some form of fashion. Them two teams belong.
Louisville right up the road.
To me, it felt like you stepped into a hornet's nest. Like, why would you? You had a relatively better path. I don't know. I don't know if it's a better path or not, because the ACC women is hard. It's a hard path.
They're both. I mean, they're probably the two top conferences in college basketball right now.
Right.
Go top to bottom. But I say, like Charlie said, Kitley's gone. Kentucky probably opened up the checkbook, I'm sure, because we still haven't gotten the details on that. I think there was supposed to be a press conference today, but I haven't heard if they're still doing it or not. With U of L announcing their coach today, it's probably going to push it down a day or two.
Push it back, yeah.
But I think it's as simple as his best two players are out the door, and Kentucky's got a big checkbook.
Yeah, I am very conflicted in my my wants and desires as it relates to the women's tournament, because there's so many phenomenal potential matchups here. The only one that I'm completely convinced that I want to see is South Carolina and Notre Dame. So I'm gonna need Oregon State and Indiana to step aside and let the
Hey man, I'm telling you, Indiana's gonna give South Carolina problems. I'm not saying
I think Oregon State's gonna give Notre Dame some problems. Oregon State's got a lot of experience, and I think at some point, experience. Surely Hannah Hidalgo is going to show up to one of these games, and experience is going to give her some problem at some point. I gotta believe that. Now it hasn't happened yet, but I gotta believe that. Because it happened to Juju last weekend. I think that was the only reason Kansas was in that game for the first 3 quarters, is because they had more experience than USC did. And then Juju said, I'm kind of sick of this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put y'all away.
She's so good. It's like
she's so good.
And the thing about her too, she's got deceptive size. She's bigger than you think she is.
She really is.
Yeah, she really is. She is so fun to watch.
Oh yeah. So I need that Notre Dame South Carolina game to happen. I definitely need this Iowa LSU game to happen, but UCLA is going to be a problem for. Listen, I think LSU is tremendously underestimating this UCLA game, and I feel like that's their trap game, because in their minds they're going towards a rematch. And I don't know if they understand how good UCLA is.
I do feel like one of the big three, even though LSU and Iowa are slated to play each other in the conference. I mean, in the regional final. I just feel like one of the big three, South Carolina, LSU, or Iowa, is going to get upset before we get there.
Well, Iowa escaped. Let's be clear. Iowa escaped
Iowa
West
skate,
Virginia.
yeah. Iowa is
For
yeah,
sure.
yeah. If that game wasn't in Iowa, they may have lost that game. If it was a neutral court game,
Well,
I think the crowd helped them get over
no,
the
it wasn't the
top,
crowd.
but
No, the crowd.
It wasn't the
I
crowd.
was
No,
being nice.
The
Being
crowd
nice.
is gonna be wherever Iowa is.
It was
Yeah.
it was the 9 fouls that got called, unbelievably called at the end of that game. Like we get it.
He
The
gets a
TV
lot
show
of
is
calls.
Iowa. We got it. But
Right.
let's not make it that obvious that the TV show is Iowa. So
If there's one sport that can't hide it because the referees are inept to hide it,
It's women's
college basketball.
It's women's college basketball.
The referees,
sure.
woo.
for sure, Colorado will give Iowa some problems though.
Yes, they will.
They will give.
They're gonna,
They are
and they're
capable of
because
beating
they already talking trash to Caitlin Clark, trying to get in her head, and I
And
think
I
that's going to be her undoing is players talking trash to her because she is super emotional.
I was just gonna say, I think the Achilles heel of her is that she can get kind of bratty.
Mm-hmm.
There's a brattiness to her
Who?
that is like,
Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin, settle down. Like you're Caitlin Clark. You don't have to do that.
I mean, let's just put yourself in her shoes, though. And as an athlete, you've kind of been there in some form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like one of the top tier players, whether it's high school, middle school,
Right.
college, whatever it is, people, especially if they want to stop you, they're going to talk trash to you to try to get in your head, like you just talked about. Oh, let's just take it to the playground.
Yeah.
It happens everywhere.
Yeah.
Where trash talk happens to the person that you're trying to get in, and at some point, if you're mild mannered, you're just gonna go off. Like, you're gonna do that. But Caitlin Clark is really not mild mannered.
She's not mild-mannered.
For that smoke.
Juju's
And
mild
so
mannered.
So when you have that type of, like you talk bratty, ness, and people start talking trash, your response is, you're gonna do the same thing, and you're gonna, like I tell my players, I'm like, man, just stop talking, just kill them on the court, like go at them, whatever form or fashion that is, just go at them on the court. You ain't gotta say nothing. Let your play do the talking. And so I think she does a little bit of both.
If I could shoot like that, I wouldn't say a word.
I think they're gonna get physical with her too.
They are gonna get physical because Colorado's a strong team.
Yeah,
they're going to be very physical.
He's going to go to the line a lot in this game. I feel like. I think they're going to get super physical with her.
The challenge for Iowa in this game is the challenge that they have in every game. You got to just make sure them other folk ain't scoring.
That little guard, what's her name? The little guard for Iowa,
Morton. Morton.
The little blonde-haired girl.
They're all blonde-haired girls.
Well, she's tan. She has a tan.
Okay, I think it's
that sets her apart from everybody in Iowa.
Yeah, I think her last name is Morton. I think
she's kind of the glue for that team because she can score if she has to, but she does all the little things. She gets the assists. She gets on the ground. She'll get dirty and like she doesn't look like it. She doesn't look like the
right. She's gritty. She's very gritty.
Number 24.
Yeah.
Yes. She's
very
gritty.
She'll stick her nose in there, but I see that game against West Virginia. I don't think she scored.
She didn't score.
She did all the little things that you needed. She didn't score, and they interviewed her after the game,
right?
Because she does all the little. She's the well kept secret at Iowa that kind of makes that machine go. Other than Caitlin.
All right, so gentlemen, I got to ask: when we return on next Thursday in the women's game, who will be in this Final Four.
I think South Carolina will be there.
I was gonna say we can go game by game if that helps.
Yeah, let me pull up a bracket.
Yeah, we want to go. Let's just go game by game, and then that way it'll make it a lot easier for everybody. So we got South Carolina, Indiana. I think we can probably all agree that's probably South Carolina.
Yes.
Okay. We got Iowa, Colorado. I'm gonna say Iowa, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not as confident.
That's the game I think I can see the upset happening. I'm going Iowa,
right?
But I can see that upset happening.
I'm not confident. I think Colorado's gonna give them everything they can stand.
And
I would agree.
Yeah,
and I'll even go this far.
I would pick Colorado.
Go ahead, Charlie. You'd pick Colorado, okay?
I'll Colorado.
And I'll even go this far.
They've been on this stage. Who did they beat? Right, they beat LSU to start the season. I mean, Colorado's not scared of anybody.
They're not scared of anybody, and
they beat LSU,
right?
And they would like nothing more than to shut Caitlin Clark's whole thing down.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna be an interesting game. I might circle back for that one for the upset too, Charlie. I'm really on the fence with that one. But okay, Oregon State, Notre Dame. I'm gonna say Notre Dame, but again, that's one of those ones where I gotta believe at some point the reality of the circumstances have to show up. Like Hannah is playing out of her mind, but it's like, how much longer are people gonna let one player beat you?
It's not one player. That's the thing, though.
Well,
they have multiple.
You got Citron over there.
They do,
Citron's
but
another. She's a silent assassin herself.
They do, but if I cut the head of the snake off, I can beat them.
Yeah, good luck with that.
If I can stop Hannah, I can beat them. It's that simple. Yeah,
it's easier said than done.
well,
she kind of
Charlie,
creates her own.
Hey, Charlie, actually, it's not easier said than done. No one's done it. Like,
it sounds good.
It sounds great.
I don't think the situation is going to ever get too big for that young lady.
Well, listen, I'm picking Notre Dame, but Oregon State has the components to do it. I just don't know if they can.
If Notre Dame loses, it's not going to be because the situation got too big for her.
I have to believe that as well. LSU and UCLA.
That's another one. I'm going to go with the upset. It's too much nonsense swirling around LSU right now. What Mulkey?
I know they got a lot of stuff going on.
I know, and by the way, I know we're picking games, but what in the world could she have done that she's so concerned that she got a lawyer prior to? I mean, do they have some old tapes of her calling people the N-word? Like, what is the?
I'm sure they got.
Is this a Paula Deen situation?
I'm sure they got plenty of dirt on her. She's done plenty. It's not. But like, and the thing is, like, she's coming out talking about, you ain't suing nobody. Because if you that upset, you know that probably whatever it is in that article is true.
She's like, I already got a lawyer. You already got a lawyer.
Yeah,
It's like you're telling on yourself. Like, what did you do?
And like nobody would even have known that article was coming out until she brought attention to it.
I had nobody knew that article was coming out. You just gave the guy a platform. So anyway, we'll see what you guys going with the upset, UCLA.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, LSU just seems off. Just something seems off with them. They got it going about midway through the third quarter in that last game. But it's just something just seems off with them.
Middle Tennessee was a weird
I can see them
team.
losing.
I can definitely see them losing.
Now, I do was laughing because, everybody made a big deal about Angel waving goodbye to the Middle Tennessee player that fouled out. And I'm like, the last game when Middle Tennessee beat Louisville, the whole team was out there doing the L's down thing in the middle of the floor.
Right.
Give me that.
I have no sympathy for that team whatsoever.
No.
Zero. So
right. Take your L and go home like everybody else.
So South Carolina, Notre Dame.
I'm going with Carolina on that one.
That's the one where that's the reality check right there.
That's not the reality check. It's just the talent check.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying for her team. That's the reality check where you see where she finally finds out that there's levels to this.
But hey, I can see her pulling the ties, Edney, and taking over the game at the point guard position and pulling it out. I mean, she's that good. I'm not worried about her. I'm not worried about her in the league.
Yeah. Well, the other issue with South Carolina is they have a freshman that's just as good.
She's amazing. She's
Yes.
having a season
Riley.
too.
I mean,
She's having a season
she's
too.
something
Malaysia.
else. I mean, this freshman class for women's college basketball.
This might be the best we've seen in 10 years. God, they're incredible. And you know what? I'm so happy for women's college basketball. I don't know what your complete history with women's college basketball is, Charlie, but I know Kendrick and I have tried to go above and beyond to support women's college basketball, especially Louisville, and try to champion it even on like podcasts and radio shows and whatever, because they just don't get that voice. And I've always felt like the only reason they're not getting it is because we're not talking about them. This is simple. You got to talk about them and make people care. And so now it's exciting to see people caring. Like, to me, their rating was higher this weekend. They got a much higher rating than the men's game in a couple of those games. Yeah, a couple of
the overall, it was not close.
Well, the overall, okay. Overall, but I'm talking about in the ones that are key. And you're going to see this weekend in the key games, the Iowa games, if Iowa LSU meet up, whatever, they're going to bust the ratings down. So I'm excited for them to have this moment. And it feels like this is going to be a trend because Juju will be back, Malaysia will be back, Hannah will be back. I mean, it's going to be a lot of, and then there's new girls coming in. So anyway, Iowa, UCLA, you guys got UCLA going there. So if it's Iowa, UCLA, who you going with? If that's the matchup for me, I'm going to say Iowa because I think it's hard to beat eight people.
I'm gonna go with UCLA.
You going UCLA? You don't think the TV show kicks in at all?
I'm sure it will, but I'm going for. I think it's close. Close.
You're an honorable guy, Charlie.
The talent. I think the talent. I mean, UCLA has more talent. She's a Florida State.
I see what just happened. Okay.
There it is, Charlie. There it is.
All right. Now we're in that weird area, Charlie, where I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. Am I supposed to flex for that? I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
There you go. Go similar. Go nose.
Once a no, always a no.
Fair enough.
It is time for Coach Sue.
I think if the network can get Iowa that close, there's no way they don't let them go the rest of the way. They're going to do everything they can to get them to that game, to the Final Four. I'm just telling you. I hate to be the conspiracy theorist on the group, but
I just got a weird feeling they're going to lose to Colorado.
I don't disagree.
I've got a weird feeling that Colorado's going to throw a monkey wrench into all of this.
I do not disagree at all. What about down on the other end here? We got which by the way, nobody's talking enough about Texas and Gonzaga. Texas is balling. They're quietly just going about their business. They're quietly just going about their business, doing their thing.
Just minding their own business.
Just mind their own business, staying out of the way. They can sneak up and win the whole darn thing. So Texas and Gonzaga, who you guys going with on that one? I'm gonna go Texas. It's easy.
Yeah, I'll go with Texas. Yeah.
Gonzaga. I like the two twins.
Yeah.
They're not bad. I like watching them play. But I don't think that's enough.
Will be a fun game to watch. An entertaining game, but I do think Texas will overwhelm them. USC Baylor. I will admit I have not had the chance to see Baylor. I missed both of those games.
Yeah, I
I
haven't
don't know
seen
how,
much.
but I missed both of them.
I haven't seen much
Well,
of Baylor, but I
just-
have seen USC, and I really like what I see with USC.
Listen,
Yeah. I just want to see Juju play more games. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not
I'm
betting
going
against
with
selfish reasons.
USC.
Yeah, the same here.
not betting against Juju at all. NC State Stanford might be the game of the first round, or this second or third Sweet 16.
I think
I
Colorado.
like NC
was the
State.
game.
NC State Stanford over Stanford.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, because of guard play, right? It's got to be because of the guard
Yes.
play. Yeah,
I don't like Stanford's guard play.
I
They
don't
got-
love it either.
They got some other other people pieces on the back end, but the guard play I'm not really.
I
I
felt
don't know
like
if it's
Iowa State.
worthy.
I felt like Iowa State's guards actually kind of outplayed them,
They did.
but they couldn't. They just couldn't score inside at all.
And that's another one where I think home court advantage kind of kicked in there.
It did. It absolutely did. Absolutely did.
I think I'm with you. I think I'm gonna go NC State. Maybe.
NC State, okay. And then, of course, another good one is going to be UConn and Duke. Kara having to go back and look her mentor in the eye and say, "What?" And he gets to say, "What have you learned, Kara? What have you learned?"
I think UConn's that's because I say Paige is playing out of this world right now. So I'm going with UConn.
She quietly looks like what you thought she was going to look like before all these injuries, which is amazing because normally you don't bounce back like that.
I mean, before the injuries, nobody talking about Caitlin Clark.
Nobody was talking about Caden Clark, but Paige, I was watching her this past weekend in both games, the Syracuse game and the Jackson State. She looked fluid. She looked confident. She was dropping pocket passes, and she looked great.
Yeah,
I was like, God, dog, Paige, you all the way back, girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure I would.
You going with
what?
Duke?
You going with the upset?
Yes, I'm going with Duke.
Look at Charlie.
Yes.
Okay.
I like Coach Lawson.
I like Coach Lawson too. I just don't know if she has all the pieces.
I don't know if she has the guns yet.
All she need to do is win one game. Put all
listen.
the pieces together for one game.
If they
That's all
bring
I'm
the
banking on.
Ohio State game to the UConn game, they have a legitimate chance to win that game.
So where are they playing? Please don't tell me Albany.
I
Is
think
that
they're
an
in
Albany
Albany.
one?
They're in Portland.
Yeah. They're in Portland. I
Portland.
remember because I was.
So that's like a neutral site. So
Right?
Yeah.
That is a true neutral site. But we
clear
all
across
know
the country.
UConn fans travel though. They absolutely.
but it won't be the
travel.
same as if they were in.
It won't be the
Albany.
same as if they was in stores. You're right. Right.
I do
1000%.
think that I don't like the way they're doing the tournament with the.
I don't like it either.
region
This seems
setup.
weird.
It's so confusing. I don't know.
This
where
seems very
anybody
weird. But whatever.
is. Albany 1 and Albany 2 and Portland. Man, look.
So what does that mean?
I guess I don't know if they're playing in two different places in Albany or
I think they're playing in the same places. Well, I know they're not playing in two different places in Albany, but I think they're playing
it's
on two
just
separate
all day.
days.
They're just gonna be playing back
Are
to back in Albany.
are they staggered on the days? I don't know.
I don't know.
confusing.
It's I don't know.
Yeah, I think
It's
it
the
is.
weirdest
I think
thing.
it is. They may be staggered on the days, which
Yeah.
makes more sense. If they're playing in the same venue, then I could see staggering the days where you have 4 games on one day, 4 games on the next day, or
Mhm.
Why are
whatever
we
it
being
is.
cheap? Why are we being cheap with the women? Why they
I
can't
think
go
it's
do 4
the-
different regions like the men?
It's an attendance thing,
Yeah.
but
Can I just be honest?
But
Okay, give
they
me.
put the places like where nobody.
Albany.
Right. That's,
They put in places
I
like
was gonna
Albany.
say, can y'all give me a minute to rant a little bit? This makes no sense. This to me, this is simple. This is so simple. Where are your four most popular women's basketball programs? Those are your final regions every year. It doesn't matter. It's Connecticut. It's probably Louisville. It's probably South Carolina. And I hate to say it. Yes, they would have an advantage, but whatever. You gotta, if you're gonna make money, just go make money. Like, what are we talking about right now? This is just Albany. Most people don't even know where Albany is.
I've been there.
Is it a nice state? Is it a nice arena?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, all right.
It's fine.
Well,
Basically, it's a hockey arena.
You both are you saying Duke too, or are you saying Connecticut?
I'm going with UConn.
I was going UConn as well because though I respect our esteemed brother, and then so for us it puts us at Texas, North Carolina State, and I don't know.
Gotta go with Texas. I like their
Hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em horns.
their inside game. I like River Baldwin. I think that's her name. She's a former Florida State player who's now at NC State. I like her.
Always Seminole.
However, I don't think she's the answer for Texas in interior game.
Yeah.
Even though Texas have a solid team just in general.
And then USC, UConn, or Duke, depending on how you voted.
Tennessee, who?
No, USC, UConn, or Duke, depending on which way you went. If it's USC, Duke, it's definitely USC.
Right, I'm going USC if it's Duke. If it's UConn, I think I'm still going USC.
Right.
I think USC's got more talent across the board because it's not just
Yes.
Juju. Juju
all
gets all the
due-
attention, but they've got talent at all five positions.
Paige would have to put up 50 for them to win that game.
And she could.
Which, by the way, she's capable of doing. Right, she's capable of doing. But I think she'd have to put up an incredible number. So it sounds like we're saying Texas, USC, South Carolina, and toss-up.
Yeah.
In that Iowa region. That's a complete toss-up. Possibly UCLA, but
Possibly Colorado.
or Colorado. Well, if Colorado is playing UCLA, then I'm going UCLA. I just something.
How did
is
they
off
fare
with
this
LSU.
season? How did UCLA and Colorado do head this year? Do we have it? You have that? I can look it up real quick.
I was gonna say I don't. If you could grab it, I don't have it. I want to say Colorado might have beat them one time, but I could be wrong.
Converse amongst yourselves.
Yes, we'll talk amongst ourselves. But that's a heck of a Final Four, but it's not the one they want. Everybody wants Caitlin Clark, LSU.
I just think I just feel like Iowa's going to get upset before they get there.
Iowa just to me doesn't, and shout out to Anaya. Is it Anaya Carter? She's the new youngest analyst in women's basketball on ESPN.
She's killing it too.
She's doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
But she said the same thing. She said, I just don't think they have enough as a team to get there.
Okay,
And
so UCLA swept Colorado this year.
They swept them. Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. That'll be interesting to see what happens there. I gotta ask you this
team
question
3 times.
Yeah, it's hard to try to beat the team 3 times. I gotta ask you both this question: if Iowa does not pull this off, what will Caitlin Clark be remembered as? Will she be remembered as the greatest women's basketball player of all time, or just the greatest scoring women's basketball player of all time?
Well, for me, even if she wins it, I'm not going to call her the greatest of all time because I still like Diana Taurasi. So that I've seen, I'd still put Diana Taurasi ahead.
You
of
say
her.
Diana Taurasi? See,
ahead of Caitlin, and I think I still might put Cheryl Miller ahead of Caitlin Clark.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'd put Brianna Stewart ahead of you. And I
Yeah.
watched Brianna Stewart come into the Yum Center and look like unstoppable. I've never seen anybody play like that in my life up close. Like
Right.
she's incredible. So I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment.
Right. And I don't want to get caught up in stats. I think don't get me wrong, she's phenomenal. She is phenomenal. She's easily top 5, top 10. But number one, I can't
But a
give her
top
number
5,
one,
top
even if
10
she
what
wins.
though? A top 5, top 10
She's
what?
a player. She's stats.
That look on Charlie's face says he don't buy none of that. So Charlie, where would you put her?
Right.
I mean, she's a top player.
What though?
I'm not a big believer in like who's number one, who's number two. I mean, that's all subjective to a person's opinion.
True.
You can look at numbers and all those types of things. I just like to say, hey, these are the great players that we've had. I mean, I've always been that way. I mean, we keep trying to give people top, and I understand it's all personal opinion. Those things, happen. Everybody wants to be, in the mix.
Yeah.
But I just say she's one of the great players that we've had in women's college basketball, and she's up there with the Cheryl Swoops, Cheryl Millers, Brianna Stewart, Diana Taurasi's, all these great players we've had, over the years. And even if she doesn't win a championship, that still doesn't put her like below, all those players that I just named.
So you're not going Jay Williams?
No, I'm not going like I'm not sure what he did, but I just think she's increased the viewership of women's college basketball
If we go in impact,
last couple years.
Yeah, if we go impact, she's probably the most impactful player, arguably ever.
It's hard to argue against that, especially, and she did it at a time when it was needed most.
Yeah.
She did it at a time when it was needed most. But you could argue that same thing about the confluence of the moment, because you could say South Carolina as a team is the most impactful team ever. You could say LSU and Angel Reese and the controversy and taking on the villain role has been impactful. It's all kind of worked well together. It's just a really good time for women's college basketball. So, all right. Well, listen, again, going to be a fun weekend. The men, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I don't know.
It's been fun. It's been a fun term. It's not the best
fantastic.
played. It's not the best played basketball I've ever seen.
No, not at all. But
the Houston game looked like a battle royal.
We've had some really good games, though.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, they were super competitive. And,
absolutely.
And it's fun.
We've had quite a few overtimes.
I'm excited for tonight. It starts back up tonight.
I think I think March Madness as a tournament is pretty impossible to be bad. Like it's gonna be good. You're gonna find some good games, and it's gonna be good. So tonight will be good.
The game start. What time the game start? 2:30.
Let's see who's got tonight.
I think
that tomorrow.
I think they're all 7:30s. 7:30 starts.
Yeah, I think it's all 7:30. I think UConn, San Diego State kick it off tonight, along with Illinois and Iowa State. Staggered out there is North Carolina and Alabama. And then the closeout, I think, is Clemson and Arizona. Well,
no.
Actually,
the last game of the night, it's Clemson, Arizona is at 7 Eastern time. San Diego State,
Illinois,
UConn,
Iowa State's the closeout.
Yeah, Alabama, North Carolina, and Illinois, Iowa State.
Yeah, they got the closeout. Okay, so lot of good
So when the
games
women
tonight.
play? Women play Saturday, Monday,
No, they start tomorrow.
They start tomorrow. They're Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, they do Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Friday, Sunday.
No,
Saturday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Monday.
No.
Monday. Yeah, they got the 4 days. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they start their final games earlier than the men. They lose a day.
Another.
I've never understood that.
The Indiana South Carolina game is at 5:00 on Friday. I knew that one.
Are you going to that one?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Well, it's gonna be fun, guys. Y'all know what it is. It's March Madness. This is the wildest time of the year. Anything can happen, and most likely will.
Anything has happened.
Do not be surprised if you see an upset in the Colorado, Iowa region. That region. We warned you several times on the show today.
Both of those games could be upsets.
Both of those games could very well be upsets. So, I don't foresee any upsets in the men's other than possibly the NC State Marquette game.
I can see that.
That could be an upset. Also, I'm gonna say another game, the Gonzaga Purdue game, because Gonzaga is playing with house money, and this is the first time in 3 years they've come into the tournament with no pressure.
This is one of the more balanced Gonzaga teams too. I saw them.
It is, and they can shoot.
When they played in Lexington this year, when they won that game at UK, that's one thing that stood out about me is like they can score from all 5 positions from anywhere on the floor. I mean, they're going to be a tough out. It's not the typical Gonzaga team, but I feel like there's one of the more balanced Gonzaga teams that we've seen.
I think they're going to let Edey do whatever he does, and they're going to try to shoot that game out, and make Purdue try to score at places that they've never scored before, and see if they can keep up. Which I'm not sure Purdue. Well, they put up 106 against Utah State, so we'll see how that works. I don't know if it's going to work, but
I mean, this is not your typical Purdue team. This is a really good Purdue team.
Yeah. So
shout out to Trey Kaufman-Wren for Purdue. He played his high school ball at Silver Creek, which is right across the bridge from us.
Do you guys see any other upsets in that first round? UConn, San Diego State, Houston, Duke, Illinois, Iowa State.
I don't see one that I would predict, but none of these games would surprise me if they went either way.
Yeah, no question.
I did have Creighton coming out of that region and going to the Final Four.
It's going to be hard not to let any of those big East teams come out. If you've been, because didn't Creighton beat UConn once this year?
I believe so.
If you're beating UConn, I gotta believe that you're good. Because that's a solid team all the way across the board.
Not only did they beat UConn, they beat them by 19 points.
There you go. So I gotta believe that you're at least decent.
I think that was the last time UConn lost.
That was the last time they lost. Wow.
Yeah.
I think so, because they went on a run after that.
That is the last time. Yeah, that is the last time they lost. So
wow.
They won. They finished the season on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 game win streak, not including the Big Ten, the Big East tournament. So yeah,
wow,
they won like 10 straight, something like that.
All right. Well, again, going to be a fun weekend. Looking forward to all the stuff starting tonight. Do we have any? Am I missing any other news? We got a brand new coach at Louisville. The tournament starts. I think that's it, isn't it?
Spring football is in full bloom.
Spring football is in full effect for everybody.
You see, Louisville had their pro day. What's today? Thursday. I think that was Tuesday when I was out there. Yeah. Jawar Jordan's put on weight. He looks great.
Does he?
He looked great out there.
That's good.
Isaac Garendo looked pretty good.
Did
Jamari
Isaac,
Crash was great.
did Isaac run himself into at least the second round?
I think he
Maybe
did.
third?
Yeah, maybe third, but yeah, I think he's going to go before Jawar.
Because he ran a fourth. He ran the top running back time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Wow.
but yes, a lot of New York representation at U of L's Pro Day. Both the Giants and the Jets had a heavy contingent there. It was weird.
At the U of L thing?
Yeah, and Steve Smith was there, the former Carolina Panther.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not that surprised by it because I think they want shiftier backs going forward. With all due respect to Saquon, I think they want shiftier guys. When they got Devin Singletary, that told me that they're going to run a whole new thing. They're not necessarily just looking to have guys run through the tackles. They're looking to do something different. So it's going to be interesting to see what they bring back this year.
Yep.
But it's going to start with whoever they take at quarterback.
We'll see what they do.
Well, we got a lot of time to talk about that. We definitely got a lot of time.
I know, Get Up's talking about it every day.
Yeah, every day. Lord, it's a lot. Okay. Let's go ahead and do some shout outs, people. And I want to give the same shout out today that I gave on the 5. And this is a little bit tongue in cheek, but I'm just, shout out to Diddy. Good luck, man.
Shout out to those attorneys. They just hit the lottery.
Good luck. Good luck, brother, because this don't feel like it's going to end well.
Yeah.
That's a very cautionary tale.
Right.
For those who are paying attention. It's a good cautionary tale right there.
Getting drunk with power. That's what it was.
So, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm doing it, because I just want people to understand. You gotta be, when you're blessed, walk in your blessing and bless others and leave it at that.
Yeah.
All this other stuff, it ain't worth it. Because somebody's going to eventually turn the lights on. So, I'll leave it at that. Anybody got any real shout outs? Like real
Mr. Ward?
shout outs?
Mr. Ward.
I got to shout out 2 of them.
Oh, okay.
To my New York Knicks for going on the scoring binge here last two games. Of course, they've been playing bottom. They've been feeding off the bottom of the NBA.
Okay.
Nonetheless,
how you win?
They've been scoring the basketball well. That's been an issue. 145 points last night, and then DiVincenzo had 11 3-pointers against the Pistons, which Monty was not a big fan of. And also to shout out to, of course, my Seminoles baseball team, who started out, I think there was 18-0 or something, and then they got swept by Clemson last weekend.
Big
and
weekend
then came
series
back
coming up.
and run. Yes, and they ruled Florida for the sweep for the season. And now we're getting ready to play, of course. And now we're getting ready to play Louisville this weekend here in Tallahassee. So starting today. So
how's Louisville doing?
Coach Link is off to a good start.
They Louisville started out slow, then they got red hot there for a while. I think they still have a good record. Their records.
Louisville is
their schedule hasn't been
16-9.
Well, they're doing good. They're doing well.
They're 16-9, and they're 2-4 in the ACC.
Yeah, they're not the typical Louisville team. They're young, and so this is kind of a rebuilding year. And so
I'll say this about your Knicks, Charlie. And with all due respect to Kyrie, who has done phenomenal with Dallas, Jalen Brunson is amazing. He is absolutely amazing. And I don't know if Dallas is better without him. I just think Jalen Brunson is amazing. He's incredible.
Dallas is coming on too.
I mean, they got it.
Kyrie's been balling.
Yeah.
He has. That's what I'm saying.
But yeah, Jalen Brunson
they are different. They're the same player with different outcomes.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, they're both ball dominant type players, but one is more of a scorer, facilitator, passer. The other one is
Purely score.
get buckets.
Right. Purely score.
Yeah.
But
Kyrie
my God,
buckets.
hey, Charlie, but my God, can the man score?
Man,
that
man
he
can get
can
buckets.
score.
He
gracious.
is something else.
He's a show.
Right hand, left hand, it doesn't matter.
It does not matter. He is a show. All right, Kendrick. Aside from a brand new coach, who you shouting out?
I'm gonna give a shout out to Sacred Heart Girls Basketball. It's been a couple weeks since we had a show, but they became the first high school team in the state of Kentucky to ever win 4 straight titles. They pulled off the 4-peat. They had their celebration yesterday. Zakiya Johnson is probably going to go down as the best high school player to ever come out of the state of Kentucky. She's got another year left. she's just a junior. And so, but it's going to be interesting for her next year because her 2 main guns that run the floor with her both graduate. Reagan Bender, who's committed to U of L, and Angelina Pelayo. I'm not sure where she's going, but they still have Z, and they still have Tootie. Tootie's the next thing coming. Tootie Jordan, she's a freshman. They've won 73 straight games against teams from the state of Kentucky.
Oh my goodness!
So not only have they 4-peated, they don't lose
they
to the state of Kentucky.
They should be fine. They should be okay.
Yeah, so shout out to them.
That's amazing. I give a shout out to Evangel. They went a lot further than people ever thought that they would go, and had a really, really good team. Had a really, really good team.
Yeah, really good team.
So we give them a shout out as well. But selfishly, I'll admit this. I want to give out a shout out to my Lakers, who are playing some really good basketball right now.
That was a fun game the other night against Milwaukee.
That Milwaukee thing, I'm gonna be honest with you. The first time we beat them, I think they didn't have Giannis.
Right.
And this time they did, and we still beat them.
Without
that
LeBron.
Was impressive. And we did that without LeBron. So now we're on a 5-game winning streak with the potential to run it up a little bit more.
Austin Reeves was
we're
balling
in striking distance of the 6th seed now, which is interesting because I think the 6th seed is the target. The 7th seed is probably where we're going to land, but the 6th seed is the target, obviously. And then my final shout out is to the patience of one Stephen Curry.
Lord bless that man.
God bless you, sir. You have, as the Bible says, you have the patience of Job.
He about lost it last night.
He felt it a little bit.
Yeah.
He felt it a little bit, which I completely understand. But
Draymond got kicked out again in the first quarter, and like Steph was clearly emotional about it. I mean, he was
just
hot.
tired, man.
You could tell he's emotional about it because he's just tired of it, and it's like, we're not gonna do anything with this man on this team.
It's like your brother. You just like
it's like the time has come. And so like he hit a dagger last night. You know, he did the night thing all the way down, and he was like super emotional. He's kicking chairs and everything after the game. He was that was as emotional as you've seen him.
Yeah,
since they won the title. And so
it's a lot. It's a lot, and I understand.
What did he do?
So I think he's about at his wits' end with Mr. Green.
Yeah, no question.
And I think
And
it's
they
He
are
just
really
wants to stop. I just think he just wants it to stop. Like, can you just stop? Can you like stop getting ejected? Can you do that for us? Just do that.
yeah. And I think there's some of it may be a realization that their title run is probably over. And because he's fine, but Draymond's game's not aging. Clay's game's definitely not aging. And while Steph seems like he's still getting better, does he want to go through a rebuild?
Yeah. Well, then there was no Kuminga last night too. That probably frustrated him as well because he knew he was going to have to take the lion's share
Against the good Orlando team. Orlando's
against
good.
a very good Orlando.
Yeah,
team.
they beat them, but Orlando's very good.
Yeah. So
They got the Florida sweep last night.
they did. All right, people. Enjoy your weekend again. Have fun. Remember the reason for the season. We say this for Christmas and Easter or Resurrection Sunday. Remember the reason for the season.
The Elite Eight.
That's not where I was going. It's not where I was headed. Remember the reason for the season. A guy got up for you. So just remember that. He got up for you. We call him Jesus. Okay.
The Elite Eight Sunday too.
Elite Eight is Sunday, but also Jesus got up for you. So,
Yes, he
there you
got
go.
up. Rose up for the Elite Eight.
Y'all have a good one.
Hey,
this
even he
weekend.
had to get up to watch the Elite Eight.
You can do that when you finish your work.
Right.
He was done. It is finished, as he said on the cross.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Enjoy yourself. We'll see you next Thursday. We'll have a Final Four to talk about and all kinds of other great stuff. So there you go. Peace. You've been listening to Believe in the ACC with Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence, and Kendrick Haskins. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share from the Noisemakers page on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and wherever podcasts can be heard. And join us next time